Remind me, I always forget.
Yeah. All right, no
Here we go.
worries. All right. So, can you please allow me to share my screen, please? There you go. Thanks. All right, let me see. Yeah, this is Spark. One sec. I'm not on my usual desk, so kind of messy. Okay, the slideshow, I guess, is the one. All right, yeah. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about Git, right? And if you have questions, just ask them. Feel free. Just don't wait till the end. I mean, if you want to wait till the end, that's fine, but feel free to interrupt me if you have any questions. All right. So let's see. So you are at least somewhat familiar with Git because you'll have a GitHub profile, right? But all right, anyhow. So Git, right? So Git is what we use to basically the whole industry uses to collaborate, right? It's like the way we share code between colleagues and we keep our code in the cloud and all that and deploy it. So anyhow, all right. So Git at the Collab Lab. Oh, one sec. There you go. Move zoom a little bit. There you go. All right. So we're going to talk about more like the basics of Git, right? So these commands that are here are what you will use like 95% of the time. At least that is my experience, right? You don't like, you can use other commands, but it's not that often, you know? So anyhow, so let's see, we're going to talk about creating and switching branches, staging changes, saving your changes, or commit changes, right? Push that to GitHub, uh, like updating your code with code from GitHub or the cloud, right? And creating PRs. So this is what this talk is going to be about. All right. So, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? What's going on? There you go. Right. So first, the Git like terms, right? Like, all right. So the first thing is a repo, right? So a repository is basically a project that has a bunch of files, and those files are under source control, right? So source control would be basically what let you travel back in time. You know, it's like you see a snapshot of the project, uh, yeah, from its inception until today, right? So that's a repository or a repo, right? And okay, there are other, like version control systems like Subversion and Mercurial and other things, but I have never worked with that except when I started working in tech. I use Subversion, but that's it. Now everything is Git. So anyhow, so there's that. Now the remote is basically the remote is the repository that lives online, right? In this case, would be GitHub, right? Now the branch. So a branch is, yeah, it's a working copy of the repo, right? It's like we have this main branch, which is like the branch that has like the source of truth, whatever we have in main is hopefully what is in production or in a tested environment, like hopefully that's the case. All right, so that's a branch. You can have your own branches. So for instance, if I'm working on something like a new feature for adding a button, I create a new branch that is called Alejandro slash add a button or something. And that branch will live locally. It wouldn't affect main at all. You can basically switch between each one of the branches you have, and you can create as many as you want, right? And you can jump into other people branches as well. So if Satoshi has one, I can jump into his branch and see what he's been doing and all that. All right, so those are branches. Commits are what we use to, yeah, so whenever you make a change and you want to save it, so to speak, that's a commit, right? So let's say that I added that button that I mentioned before. So I want to save it into version control. It's like today at 11 a.m., I want to say I created this button. And that leaves like it's like a point in time. So in a month, I can go back to today and see what I did. And you can basically, you can jump or you can just take a look at what happened in a commit, right? And a pull request. So a pull request is basically what you create. It's like a proposal for changes, right? So that button that I'm talking about, I want to add that button into the project. So I have to create a pull request. And you will have to review my code and say, okay, Alejandro, you're good. Or maybe you have to change a few things here and there so we can put your button in the code. It's like, so you can merge your code, right? So pull request is a GitHub thing, a term from them. If you are using GitLab, it will be a merge request. And if you're using other systems, I guess maybe they will have another names. I don't remember Bitbucket, but it's just a naming thing. It's basically a proposal for merging changes, right? So, all right. Are we good so far? Cool. All right. So, okay. 1 second. Okay. My cat is playing with something. That's the noise. If you can hear something. Anyhow, so here we have branches, right? So let's ignore the one on the bottom for now. And let's focus on the one on the top. So we have this initial commit. Let's say that this is when we created the project. This is basically the project that you have right now. Initial commit, that's it. There's nothing in there, right? Then there is another thing that is add a button, another commit. And then I create a new branch. That branch will live locally unless I push that to GitHub. So let's say that it lives locally, right? So in that branch, I started working on something. So I'm adding styles. Then I'm adding tests to that branch, to the code, right? Oh, 1 sec. And in the meantime, another person on the team or another person on the team added something to main, right? For instance, that person updated some text, right? And as you can see here, it's like having two states of the project at the same time. And then I create a pull request or I merge my code into main, right? And that creates a merge commit. It's like, okay, this is another point in time when something happened. And that something is that we incorporated the code in blue into the main branch, right? And in the end, the Git history will look like the drawing below, right? So initial commit, add button, update text, then add styles, add tests, and the merge commit, right? So that's basically what we're going to do is, what you will do basically in your career is creating branches, work on something, propose the change will be approved, and your change will go into main. And that is how it is going to work. Are we good? Right? All right, perfect. So let's get, oh, okay. So this is one funny thing. This blue line here is, we can think of it as main, right? Like the background image that we have. And this green thing is one branch. This other one is another. The pink one is another branch. And as you can see, each one of the messages are basically the messages that the team wrote about what was happening in that point in time. Right? So yeah. All right. So we're going to talk about branching here. So if there are other branches in the project, and it will be other branches in the project, you can jump into that branch using checkout, right? So I can check out to Satoshi's, like Satoshi's add button. So git checkout, Satoshi add button. In this case, it's git checkout cool feature. So I will jump into cool feature and all the files will be updated accordingly. And if I want to create a new one, a new branch, what I will do is git checkout -b new feature. That will create a new branch from where I'm standing at. It's like in main, I'm in the last commit from today. That is the head. And then if I check out to a new branch, it will basically like duplicate main, and I can start working on my branch. And main will be untouched, right? And it's worth noting that the origin, the repository in GitHub wouldn't be affected. This is just local changes. And you can do whatever you want with branches. You can like destroy the project if you want. It won't break anything for anyone else, unless, like you merge, but we're not doing that. So as long as you work in your branch, you can go crazy and do whatever, right? So now, staging changes. So again, with the button, right? I'm working in this button.js file, and I'm saying like, okay, I'm almost done. I have the basic structure in, so I'm going to add this button into the version control. So what I do is there are different ways to do this. So one way is to type the name of the file. So git add, and then the name of the file. In this case would be button.js. I can also do git add dot, and it will add everything. Like if you are standing in the root of the project, it will add everything in the project. But if you are in a folder, it will add that folder and everything inside that folder. Is like recursive, right? And the other one is git add -a, and it will add everything, no matter where you are standing in the project. If you are deep in like a folder, like 3-4 levels, if you do git add -a, it will get everything, all the changes in the project, and it will add them to the staging area. So the staging area is the state where you have the files, but they are not yet in the version control, but they are ready to be committed, right? It's like in an intermediate state. And now we're going to commit the changes, right? So there are many ways to do this, but the main, like the command that triggers everything is commit. So git commit. If you don't type anything, as you can see in the first example, it will open an editor. And it depends if you have configured some configuration in your computer. It could open Visual Studio Code, it would open Vim, it could open like whatever you want, basically. But let's say that we have, whatever IDE you have configured. So if you type git commit, it will open a new window, and you will type your message and all the script, or like a description for the PR and for the commit, sorry. And once you close that, it will save your changes into version control. Another way to do this is a shortcut. It's basically using git commit -m, and then you type the message. For instance, here we are updating the heading text in the second example. And if you want to use another shortcut, which is basically -am, is basically doing git add -a, so adds everything into the staging area. And then the M is the message. So it's like adding everything and then committing that with a message, right? So if you want to save some time, you can do that. I personally never do that. I think I never get used to it. I like to check what I'm doing before committing my changes. Sometimes you change something and you forget that you did that, and you add that file by mistake into version control, right? So just to be aware of that. But yeah, you can use am if you want. That is completely fine. All right, so let's keep going. Now git push. Oh, you have a question, right?
Sorry. Yes, I just had a silly question about the messages. I know certain each company is a little bit different as far as like whether they want those messages in the present or in the past tense. Does the Collab Lab have a specific way that they like to deal with that? Like where it says, add button or added button.
Okay.
Things like that. Kind of silly.
That is not silly. That's fine. So like, feel free to ask any question you have. So, and what to answer your question, we don't have any standard, we haven't defined anything. But what I do is I usually write the commits in a way that explain what's going on instead of saying, for instance, in the case of the heading, right? Let me go back. Here in the middle, we are updating the heading text, right? What I would do is, I don't know, let's say that this is a title of a page, right? So I would say that update homepage heading text, right? Instead of saying add H2, because like you can see that you added an H2 in the code, but you're not like, the idea is to, for me, is to tell why you are adding, why you're making that change. Why is that changing something? Instead of saying, I added a title, right? So anyhow, that is kind of a tangent, but we don't have a standard. I use like a present tense, and I try to explain why I made that commit instead of listing the files, or you like be too generic. And that's hard. You will get better at it the more you practice. So
thank you.
All right, of course. All right, so now git push. So we have all these commits in our local machine, and now we want to move those commits in my branch into GitHub or GitLab or whatever. So GitHub for this scenario. So what I do is I do git push. So the thing is that if like you can use git push -u to create an upstream, right? And that is basically a way to tell your computer that this branch that you have locally, that is called cool feature, is like connected with GitHub, right? It's like this branch exists there as well. And whenever you do git push the next time, you don't have to specify the origin or the branch name, right? So you do this once, and then you can keep doing git push, and it will just know that they are like connected, right? Or you can just do git push origin name of the branch every single time, but that's kind of a waste of time if you can use -u, right? So yeah, that is what we do. Whenever, like what I do is I make a change, I push my changes, because yeah, that's how it works. You can push changes by the end of the day, whatever, but yeah, I tend to commit and push changes. All right, so are we good? All right, very good. Now git pull. So because this is like, we're working on a theme, right? So the code will be updated at any moment. Someone could merge some code and our branch will be outdated. So we do a git pull to update our branch with the code from others, right? For instance, if I'm in cool feature and I want to update my branch with the latest main, I would do git pull origin main, and it would grab everything that is on GitHub on the main branch, and it will merge it into my branch, right? So that's how you do it. A good, like, yes, as we say here, a good habit is to basically pull the main branch before you start working on something new, or at the beginning of the day. The first thing is just pull everything so you are basically up to date. And the more you do this, the less, is that how you say it? So basically, the more you update your branches, the less likely it is to be a merge conflict. Because like, if you like try to do that frequently, if you don't, at some point you will get a conflict, but conflicts are fine. So we're going to talk about conflicts in a slide or two, but yeah. So we put the changes. So now we have learned how to update Git, update our local machine, and make commits, change branches. And now we're going to talk about Git. So Git is straightforward. You open the project. In this case, we are seeing the Collab Lab website. We click the pull request tab, then the green button that says new pull request. And it will open a new dialog that says, oh, you're going to create a pull request. Select the branch you are going to like. Select the branch with your changes and select the target branch. When you have that, Git will show you this UI that says, oh, you're going to you're proposing this new button and this new title and all that, right? So that is a pull request. We create a pull request and everyone will, all people on the team will review it and we can go from there. Now, merge conflicts. This is going to happen and it is fine. It is like, especially like, I guess you will have merge conflicts in the first 2 weeks and that is fine. Because like you're touching the same lines in the project, right? So the thing here is that Git tracks your changes by lines, right? And let's say that team A changed line 10 to 15, team B changed the same lines. And then Git is like, I don't know what to do with this. You need to help me out because both have changed and I cannot merge this by myself. And what you will see if you open your VS Code or whatever IDE you use is this sort of the same UI, like this head in green, and then like 5 or I don't know, more equal signs, and then the blue part, right? Basically, the one above is the changes that you have in your machine, and the blue ones are the ones that are in GitHub, right? So you have to decide how to fix them. Sometimes you only want your code, sometimes you want their code, sometimes you want both. And you can do that manually. You can use, if you're using VS Code, it has these call to actions that say accept incoming change, accept both, accept mine, or you can just do it manually. You just delete these head comments and basically do it yourself. And Git is like, okay, I trust you. We're good. Yeah. So if you're stuck, let us know. Like that is our job to help you. All right. So probably will be some nasty merge conflicts. Probably not, but we'll see. Yeah. Okay. And here, like again, communicate with your team because sometimes you don't know what's going on. It's like I don't know what this function is doing. This line is doing something, but I don't know what that is. So what you can do is you can take a look at the Git history. Maybe you can figure that out. But if you can't, just talk to your team or talk to us. Okay. And I guess that's it. So to find help, the Git documentation, obviously, Atlassian, I think that's how you say it. They have some great Git tutorials. Google, obviously, Stack Overflow. ChatGPT is really useful too. And of course, your team. So rely on your team when you have these merge conflicts and you don't know what's going on. They are your best option for solving that. And yeah, that concludes the Git module. Now let me stop sharing. There we go. All right. Do you have any questions or thoughts or anything you have? Okay, we're good then. Thanks.
Well, if you're wondering, we'll go over the code review learning modules next week. So that was my thought for the first session. I was like, oh, I'm wondering how PR works. Then we'll do that next week. Yeah, Daniel, you're ready to kind of assign tasks?
Yep. Yeah. I can chat issues. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I was supposed to assign it to people. We'll do it live.
Yeah, we'll do it live.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. What I'll do is so essentially every week, we're gonna have two pairs. So you're gonna be pairing with someone, and then there's gonna be two issues going on at the same time. So I'm gonna start by just going through the two issues, and then I will live assign you your issue for the week. Let me share my screen here. Cool. So I'm on one monitor here. Apologies if it's a little squished, but anyway, and yeah, just like Alejandra, if you have any questions while I'm talking, I can't see the chat, so just interrupt me. So anyway, this is going to be your home for the next 9 weeks, this TCL 64 Smart Shopping List. And if you look at the issues here, this is what we're going to be working on. So one pair this week is going to be working on issue 1. Another pair is going to be working on issue 2. So quick overview of issue number 1 here. As a user, I want to read the names of all the items on my shopping list. So if you pulled down the code and messed around a little bit, you'll notice on the slash list page that I'll just show you. I just cloned this a while ago here. This will load. There we go. So if you go to like the slash list page, here we should see just like very bare bones list of issues on the smart shopping list. And within this issue, whoever set this up did a really great job of giving hints, details. I'd recommend checking out this wireframe here of what we want it to look like with the list populated here. And I believe this first week, we just want to get the items that are in Firebase just listed, very basic. It's very easy to scope creep and want to go further, but definitely just do the bare minimum, and we will go after the more detailed stuff later. And yeah, and another hint with this is I believe everyone on this team should have gotten an invite to Firebase. So this is where the information will be. There's currently a test list in here. So once you're done, you should see like toothpaste, particle accelerator, moose. Yeah, just like the things here. So you don't have to do anything with like adding data to Firestore yet. It's just listing what's in there currently. Cool.
Christina has a question.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, go for
I have
it.
a question about the little check marks on the acceptance criteria. I noticed that that's something that we can click, and I wasn't sure if there was a reason that some of them were checked off, if we're supposed to check them as we go. I haven't had to work with acceptance criteria, so.
Yeah, great question. Correct me if I'm wrong, other mentors, but I believe if they're already checked off, I believe that means they're already done. And I think this third one is what whomever is assigned this ticket will need to complete, and then you'll just check it off and then do your pull request.
Correct. Because it's all related, so it's kind of give you a story, can kind of follow.
Nice. Okay. So
But
that was
do we
long.
check it off, or do you guys as mentors, once it's been approved, check it off? Or at what point? Sorry.
Yeah, once you're done with
you're
your
good.
tasks, you can check it off. Yeah.
Anyone else before I move on to issue 2? Cool. Yeah, and this one also has 2 pre-checked, and then the third one. I'd say after you do it, just check it. And if you forget to do it, we can do it for you. That's not an issue either. So issue 2 this week is, as a user, I want to be able to navigate to all pages in the application by clicking the links on the nav bar. So there's a lot of words here. So like down here, we have our nav bar. And currently the way that it's set up is it changes, but it's not really actually working yet. So that's going to be potentially your job if you are the pair on this. And then there's a hint here to the official docs for the nav link component. We'd recommend checking that out. And yeah, for this, it's mostly just making sure you can navigate between the pages. So it's not like adding anything to the pages yet. It's going to be, I think it's maybe, yeah, there we go. Yeah, so it's not adding anything to the page. It's being able to just navigate between with the nav bar instead of manually typing it in. And the great part is it'll say like hello from the add item page, so you can easily check if you did it correctly. Cool. Okay. Any questions on this one? Awesome. And I do see we have this projects. Do we want to make use of this as well? Or do we just want to do the issues? I wasn't too sure. That's like a real question that I have.
Yeah, I mean, oh, go ahead.
Okay, thanks. If you like, I guess it's up to you to use them. Like, if you really want to have this board, that will help you to understand what's going on. And for instance, if you're done with something, then you move that to peer review. Then others will know, hey, I need to review this. Because if it sits in to do, it's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if I should review it or not. So I would say that try to reflect your progress in this board so others know. But yeah, you have go ahead.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool. Yeah, let's use it then. All right, so let's say they're in progress now. No pressure at all. And then I guess now I should do the assigning. Okay. Oof, I have so many choices. Yeah, I don't know who is who on this. This is
I mean,
really
any
getting
of
live.
the tasks you're really like you want to take this on, you can raise your hand, but otherwise we'll just assign.
Yeah, speak now. Now on air.
I also don't know people's GitHub names too, so that's another thing. So
Right.
I'm fine with either. If you want to add me to this one, that's okay. It would be Polly89. I did see that we were already assigned like our pair for the week. I don't know if that list would help you, but it is
even better.
Yep. So
Yeah.
Christina and Tita are in the same group.
Yeah, so speak up if you don't want to do this one because I have no preference, Tila.
Yeah,
that works for me too.
Polly89 is Christina. I think that worked. Ugh, we don't want to archive. And then
Eila.
Yeah, that first one.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep.
Cool. That's a cool name. I like it. Awesome. And then we'll do issue 2, which is the other 2 folks. Help me out with your GitHub names.
Yeah, so mine. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I think you can just type Satoshi. Yeah.
Satoshi, that's you. Cool.
And it's Mary, ISMARJI.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that looks like you. Cool. Awesome. All right. Yeah, and if you have any questions or like need clarification, this is like a lot of info at once. Definitely feel free to ping us in Slack. We're always here to help you out.
Mm-hmm.
I have a quick question. I think I remember somewhere seeing the branch naming convention that the Collab lab uses, but I'm not able to find it in the repo. Was that maybe during the orientation the other day? Does anyone else remember seeing this?
Yeah, it's in the orientation doc. So it's like our 2 initial, like the first person's initials, second person's initials, and the name of what we're working on, right?
Okay, cool. I'll go back and reference that then.
Yeah,
Do you
I
want
think
to do it now? Yeah, do you want to do it now? We can do it live if you feel that will be helpful, but unless you don't want to, that's okay. I know like people staring at you code. you kind of have to get used to it, right? It's like it's part of the code interview. So
Yeah, either way, I just wanted to make sure that I was using the right like standard conventions, basically.
oh, any other questions?
I do. Maybe I misunderstood. So you said that we're going to go over PR request next week in
Yeah,
more
there's a
detail.
learning module similar to Git,
Okay.
what we're doing today. Yeah.
But don't we have to create like our first PR request at the beginning of this week?
Yes. Not at the beginning. I would say usually the timeline is you will work with their pair and then usually have a week to do that. And you can see the process, right? Like once you're done, then your peer will review your PR, meaning the other pair. And then once that's done, then you will tag one of us. We have like every week we'll rotate. So definitely I will let you know the schedule for our schedule later, like really right after this. So you know who to tag once that's done. So what has been helping me like for the past cohort was just once you're done, tag the other pair to say, hey, we're ready. So it's ready to review. And then once they're done, they tag the, mentor, say, hey, we're ready. So that's kind of keep things going.
Okay. So don't worry about creating the PR request this time or until we meet next time. I'm sorry. That's
No,
not
you
totally
you
true.
still yeah
Create it.
you will yeah for the first week just kind of get a feel of it, and also I
Okay.
have office hour on Wednesday. You can come in and then we can walk through it together or something if that feels better.
Okay.
And we have for the PR reviews, I would say it's pretty easy. We even have a template for you to follow, or if I remember correctly. So once you follow that template, I think everything should be pretty easy to follow. But again, for the first week or two, we just kind of get feeling of it. And yeah, don't worry too much.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Guess
I have one
question,
more
right?
question. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
What was it? Oh, for this first week of our issues, are we expected to do any testing with that?
I don't think testing is part of this. I think it's really get used to working as a team, kind of really get used to like GitHub, the PR review cycle, and really like working collaboratively is yeah, really like according to the tasks. And it's kind of giving you a real world feeling of how to work with the team. So yeah, I think about the scope. I know we have like 5 hours, right, per week to work on this. If you think, especially later on, because the tasks progress, right? The project when once it's maybe after a couple weeks, it will get harder. So if you feel like okay, you're spending too much time, then that's when you need to reach out. But I don't think test is part of the tasks. Yeah, I don't think for now. So yeah.
Okay. Are we going to be
Mhm.
expected to do testing though at some point throughout this, or that's just not really in the scope at all?
Mm-mm.
It's not in the scope. I mean,
Okay.
like, it is not that we are going to say we're going to reject the PR because it doesn't have tests. Or, like, or if you write tests, it's like, that's great. But, I mean, it's here is more like what Jeff has said, like we're going to learn how to work together. Like you have to do pair programming, you have to do all those things that you don't get to do in a bootcamp or when you're alone, right? So it's more like those skills are the ones that we try to improve instead of like technical, yeah, of course, but more is like this other thing, soft skills kind of thing. All right, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Sure.
I have one question. I remember from the orientation, there was kind of like a general guideline as far as like when we all are gonna like eventually like follow up with each other in the week. Because I know typically under like normal circumstances, Monday through Wednesday is like when we're typically working on our task. And then the other half of the week, we're kind of like following up with each other, reviewing the code before we actually like merge our changes from our feature branches. About Wednesday or Thursday, should we like be posting to the Slack like, hey, like we finished this task. What do you guys think about the code that we wrote? Like, how are we gonna like handle that? Or just like posting on the Slack mostly?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to post it. Once you're done, like it's ready to for peer review, just tag the other pair, say, hey, it's ready to review. And then once the other pair reviewed it, and then they can tag, the mentor who are assigned for the week, which I will send out pretty soon. And yeah, I think that's kind of helps with the flow. That's a good idea.
Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
I have one thing about communication. Just to like, I want to highlight this, sort of speak. Like, try to use the public channel as much as possible. Right? It's not that you cannot send DMs. Of course you can, but the public channel is the best uh, channel to use. For instance, if you are stuck with something, we will know, the mentors will know, or other people on the team will know, like, hey, you're struggling with this, then we can jump and help you out. Like, as the more transparent you are, the better. There are no silly questions. Like, feel free to ask anything you need. Like, this is basically, it's like a real world thing. You should ask a ton of questions. And being as that is fine. Like, use at someone. Like, if you need someone, especially, just tag that person. And yeah, so don't be shy. Use the public channel, basically.
Oh, I have a question. How do you proceed pair programming? Just one person do the programming and another person just watching and some give the advice?
We have a module about pair programming, right? I think, but that is like later. But yeah, so basically there is someone that drives there are two roles, drive and I don't remember the other. It's basically one codes, the other person watches. And you just, for instance, you can do that for 30 minutes and then you can switch. You should switch. So yeah.
Okay.
Hmm. Yeah, we'll go over the learning module in the following week after the code review. I mean, usually in the boot camp, for my experience at least, I had some experience pair programming. But Satoshi, if you have more questions, let us know.
Yeah, thanks.
No, you will get better at it. It's like there is no like the way to do pair programming, right? It's like like it's like a social activity. There's no right or wrong answer, like black or white kind of thing. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that too. Yeah. And also, I'm pretty sure like all of us has some, something we're good at. So that's the best way to teach, right? If you know something the other person doesn't, then that's great. Meaning like you're learning together. Cool. Any other questions? Yeah, I did that VS Code. What's called pair programming, live share. Yeah.
I think they had suggested using Zoom too, no? Just for it. Keep it simplicity.
Yeah, you have to use Zoom, obviously, like to talk to each other. So, but the tool for both of you to see the same thing, um,
Oh, I see.
I used VS Code live share.
Gotcha.
It's a free tool, so it's a little bit buggy, like, like what you shared here. So yeah, it can be because it's free, but but a lot of people are using it. So
All right. So any other question before we end the call?
how do we all feel about Discord channel for the voice video feature?
You
You
can
mean
use whatever you want.
yeah.
Like if you like Discord, you both like it, like you can use it. We're good. Yeah. So
Yeah, there's even huddles on Slack. Since we're using Slack, there's like huddles on there that you can get on them.
yeah,
Pretty much the
those are
same thing.
cool.
Yeah, they are cool.
Yeah.
There are just so many tools out there, and sometimes I feel overwhelmed. Just choose one. Just go ahead and choose one and then start.
All right.
Or Google Meet, that works too if it's like just something to start with, and then we can get fancy later. Cool. Oh, so for the office hour this week, I'll be doing the office hour on Wednesday, 4 to 5 Pacific time. I'll send out the calendar invite soon. But just wanted you to know, I feel like in the middle of the week will be helpful because, right, maybe you're kind of finish your tasks and have some questions, then we can come together and kind of solve that, and then it's ready for peer review. Cool. Any other questions? Awesome. Yeah, like just reach out to us. I think Slack is the best channel to reach out. And we'll also try to monitor it pretty often as well. And as I mentioned, I'll definitely let you know who is assigned to review the, review PR review this week for the mentors. And also, again, to trying to reiterate some of the things I said. And yeah.
All right. So see you
Cool.
on Slack.
See you on Slack. Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend, all.
You too.
Bye,
Okay,
everyone.
take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.